Hi everyone, welcome to this course. Here I'm going to create a net present value calculator using JavaScript, HTML and CSS. So basically all the things will be done with JavaScript only, and we will see that it will be enough because the calculations are not particularly complicated until we don't want to implement some very advanced feature that I am not just going to implement. So let's first see the end result, which would be this website. Excuse me if the graphic is very bad. I'm not a designer. I don't like to do design. I just created some simple things to make the page look like a website. Anyway, the art of this is of course this form. I'm going to explain each of these parameter: interest, investment, flux, life, etc., in this lesson from a mathematical point of view. Then we are going to implement it inside JavaScript. Just now, only to show you an example of how it works, I place some values inside these fields. So we will see now it will appear a result, which will be the net present value. Okay? So this is the net present value, and this is actually another parameter, which is the time of return. Anyway, the most important is the net present value, and now I'm going to explain what is the net present value and all these other parameters for those who may not know it. So the net present value is a financial metric that is useful to decide whether a certain investment will increase the wealth of an investor or decrease it. So the net present value can be positive or negative or equal to zero. If it's positive, the investor will return richer than before. If it's negative, the investor will become poorer, and so basically you will not do the investment, assuming that the only parameter that you are going to look at is the net present value. The philosophical phrase that probably everyone knows: €1 is more valuable. €1 now is more valuable than €1 tomorrow. So basically, if the money that I'm going to get to receive are five years after the investment, they are not going to be as valuable as the same amount of money, but today. This is basically the concept behind the net present value. So which parameter we are going to have? We are going to have an initial investment E. We are going to have a cash flow of FC. We are going to have a number of years, and I decided to keep it as a life. So basically, I assumed that our investment will return a fixed rate, but theoretically it could be different. It could have variable rates. I may be going to create another software which implements a variable rate. Each year might have a variable rate. It's going to be more complicated, and maybe you should stop using JavaScript and implement it using Python or something like this. Here I keep it simple and I use only JavaScript. Anyway, the interest rate is another parameter that may not be the simplest to understand. Is this one, interest. Here it means this is the monthly interest rate, 0.05. So in a year probably it will be bigger, of course, and it means the higher it is, the most likely the net present value will be negative, because it is considering another possibility. So basically, yes, we have €15,000, right? And we can spend it into this investment that is returning €5,000 for 7 years, or we can do something else, or we are already doing something else, no? And that something else, for example, a bond. You have your money in your bank account, and is not just in your bank account. They are invested in something that is giving you some money, even though it's not a lot, but a few interest you are going to receive it, and that is the interest that you are going to place it here. So the net present value will consider it the alternative and see if the investment that you are planning to do is actually better or worse than the investment that you are already doing, in a sense. Okay, so this was the interest rate. And yes, I have explained it quite well. Here I'm saying that the net present value can be positive, negative, or equal to 0. Yes, now I don't want to go beyond my scope, which is informatics anyway. Net present value is just a pure mathematical comparison. There might be other metrics that are less quantitative that you might use to decide which are which is the best investment. Anyway, coming to the last three, which may not be the simplest, and actually sometimes you will find some softwares more complicated than this that has been brought to production into some website. You can freely go on Google and search for other calculators, and you will find that they are more complicated than this. They use a variable interest rate, but they do not consider inflation, derive, and taxes. The reason is that not the people that have implemented those websites are stupid. It's just that they assume that the people that are going to use those websites may not be the best, the most knowledgeable people, and so they just leave these free parameters out of the game, like I already did, because I place it as 0. The inflation is the parameter that an inflation with a positive value means that the goods are going to rise. A negative value, the goods are going to decrease in price. This is a pure financial thing, I know. Anyway, you can find the inflation of Italy or the inflation of your country inside some websites, and you are going to receive, for example, a value that might be between 2% or minus 1%, something like this, not too big. And you can use, if you are a little advanced, you can use it inside your calculation of the net present value. Is not the most important thing. As I said, some calculators just avoid using the inflation, is more correct. And the derive is still the inflation, but is the inflation of your specific good. So to explain it well, for example, here I'm saying the cost of energy in Italy. In Italy there is an inflation of 2%, okay, but the energy specifically inflates 1% more, so has 1% of derive, or minus 1%. So the software will understand that there is an inflation of 2%, so the energy cost the next year will be 2% higher, and it will also calculate the derive and will take it out from the inflation and say, okay, there is actually the energy next year will cost 3% more or 1% more, something like this. And this is pretty much the most complicated thing to explain to you right now. If you didn't understand, just go and check out some documentation about it, and it will be much easier to understand than from my words, which I'm not a mathematician, a financial person. The last one is, of course, taxes. So since the company that you are working for is a company, you're not a private owner, you're not defrauding your nation, assuming you are going to pay taxes, so you are going to diminish your income by a certain taxes. In fact, now I cannot place a number, actually I can place a number higher than 1. I shouldn't be able to place a number higher than 1, but just a number between 0 and 1. Anyway, this last 3 parameters I will leave it for the second part of the course, before we are going to implement a simple net present value calculation with a simple mathematic formula, and then we will add these 3 things to end up with the course. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next lesson.